How about that bear dance? It was good to kind of get that out, though, I gotta tell you. But it really is good to be in a sacred space. And in this space, not just this chapel that we're in, but to be with my brothers, as they celebrated their history with us was really incredible. And to hear my other brother talk about the other part of the world that we share, the animal kingdom, did really remind me so much of just how close we all are in so many ways, and how often, however, we don't necessarily see the things that hold us together. And, I stand before you as a piece of the embodiment of a very American experience. I have people that survived the Middle Passage and lived not too far from here as slaves. I have other people, and that blood also courses through me, of my white ancestors from Europe. And also, of course, the ancestors that were here when they both came. And the concept of home, to me, as the granddaughter of a slave, is very different in a lot of ways. And because sometimes home, for many people, is not the place that you want to stay or grow up in, or even share with children going forward. And I think of my hometown and what I've come to believe now, which is a truth, which is that you shouldn't have to move out of your neighborhood to live in a better one. And I know that this is true because for so long I absolutely did feel as though my place, where I was born, up in the South Bronx in New York City, as inner city as it gets, was a place that was forgotten at best and abused at worst. And it was the kind of place where you didn't have the kind of support systems, where we were considered an environmental sacrifice zone for folks that actually were wealthier enough to avoid the political consequences that we would deal with. And so I grew up with, watching manufacturing and the jobs that supported people leave. This is not the first financial crisis we've ever been in, mind you. And then watch as environmental burdens kind of started to take its place. And that had a major effect on the quality of life for people that lived in the community. Everything from respiratory problems to actually learning disabilities, because we were an epicenter for the tail end of the pollution-based economy. And this is how we felt. We felt that in order to become whole, that in order to become a valuable member of society, that we had to separate ourselves from it. And I know that to be true because I was one of those people who just thought, if I don't get out of this place, I'm gonna die, literally or figuratively. But then I'm starting to understand that the reason why so many environmental problems happen, which of course have an impact on our economic quality of life too, it happens because some people are considered less valuable than others. And it's those regional sacrifice zones that allow that to go forward. And I think now that had we considered everyone beautiful and valuable and a real part of this gorgeous ecosystem called the Earth that we all live in, if we had built all the waste facilities, all the power plants, even the coal extraction and all those kind of facilities in areas where there were rich people first, then we would have had a really clean and green environment a long time ago. But that's not what's happened. But we are in a really tremendous place in our history right now, environmentally and economically, because a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. But I want to share a quick story with you all about, I actually had the privilege and the pleasure of being on a panel with Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And it was less than 2 weeks after Obama was elected. And it was an extraordinary moment, and we were in this room, filled half the people that were in here, just a pretty small group of folks, and it was a panel on sustainability. And so, but Archbishop Tutu said to everybody in the room, my goodness, didn't the world just celebrate an amazing victory? And everybody was like high on the Obama thing and all that stuff, and you could just feel in the room, and then he said, but what do you think is going on in the White House? And you could just tell all those progressives, present company included, was just kind of like, I don't care. Well, why should I? And then he's just like, listen, think about the fact that that there's this man who's got the worst approval rating of any sitting American president. That while world leaders are singing Obama's praises, that they were refusing to shake his hand publicly. A tear should be running down our cheek because of just imagine how he feels. And I felt like I'd been hit in the stomach because I realized that even though my work for the past decade or so helped me thinking about like, how do we consider people valuable? That there was the embodiment of our former president who did the exact opposite, and yet so many of us were willing to completely treat him the same way that he had treated the planet and so many people on it. And that in this new era, that we had an opportunity, and I think an obligation to ourselves and to each other, to recognize that that was completely unacceptable behavior, and that we could do things differently and lovingly. Because when you start to think that anybody is less valuable, the kind of things that we've experienced through the pollution-based economy will continue to happen. No one is expendable. No one is expendable. No one is expendable. Thank you.